visiting tonight.
Okay, we'll just continue then. Is the tooth out?
Yes, we're good.
Cool. Which one is this one?
He lost his bottom 2 teeth like a year ago. That's the top 2. They're actually both loose. One came out, the other one's loose. So he's going to lose them both. He lost one. He's going to lose the other one pretty soon too.
So this is like his third tooth, huh?
Yes, third tooth.
Good.
So like I was saying, when you're selling 100 cylinders, 150 cylinders a week and making $1.79 profit on those alone, and then you have 3 and 4 of them that you constantly deliver to, I was making good money. I was making a lot of money, especially for a kid that's 19 years old. It was a lot of money for me. And, I don't have the nickname Baddog for no reason. I partied a lot. I was a big partier. I ripped through my money. I was invincible. It just seemed like, I make all this money. I feel great. I'm going to do whatever I do. Nobody can touch me. Stupid 19-year-old stuff. 19-year-olds think they know it all. We think we're grown. We don't. And I always say 47-year-old me would beat the hell out of 19-year-old me. I had this job for a good 3-4 years making all this money, and then one day the owner took ill, and his daughter sold the company up underneath us, and I was out of a job 2 days. I had 2 days notice, you're done. Sold the company for pennies on the dollar. She had no idea what it's worth. I had no job. So there goes all the money, there goes all the partying, there goes everything. I had nothing to show for it because I was an idiot. So I ended up working for a supply company that just kind of, sold the same type of stuff. It was just like hard goods, though, and I ran a warehouse in the East Coast, and I just shipped stuff, and I might have made a quarter of what I was making at the other place. So you get humbled real quick. At that time, when I'd had that job, I met would be my wife, 23 years ago or whatever, and, she moved in with me, and we were scraping by. We were scraping by. She was in college. We were just scraping by, barely able to pay the bills. We were in debt, all this stuff you hear about. And I remember a buddy of mine came to me, and he didn't lie about this. He didn't tell, he wasn't vague about anything. He just said, hey, how's it going? I heard this and this and this. And he's like, I'm doing really good with Quickstar. Now, I didn't know what Quickstar was. I had no idea. I didn't know what Amway was. I heard of Amway, but I didn't know what it was. I knew nothing about multi-level marketing. I knew nothing about any of this stuff. And when he told me what he did, I'm like, oh, man, I'm a salesman. This is what I do. I can make this work.
And about what year was this?
This was late 2002. I want to say this is about the summer of 2002, probably July. So, the reason is, there would be nights that I would stay up and I would just be like, thinking to myself, I wasn't depressed or anything, but I'd sit up and think to myself, why didn't I just save money? Why wasn't I smarter? I had a lot of regrets as to why I didn't, because when I was doing all this, I was a single guy. It was just me. I didn't really have a care in the world. But when you're getting serious, and thinking about marriage, you're like, man, I wish we had nicer things. And that's what I wanted. So a couple of things that I did keep. I bought a Rolex. I still have that today. It's 23 years old. It still keeps great time. And I had a couple of Armani suits. They don't fit anymore because I'm just a different size than I was back then. But he told me, he said, hey, there's a meeting tonight. He goes, let's go to it. We'll just sign you up. It was always I don't remember the hotel. It was a hotel lobby. It was every Tuesday night. It was $10 to get in. And he's like, wear your suit, wear your watch, wear all this stuff. And I'm like, whatever, okay. So I walk into the place, and I remember my upline Ruby's wife was, I don't want to use names because I don't know who this, I don't want to use their names or anything. But Scott, you know what I was in. I was in LTD because I told you that the guy on the NBC Dateline was my upline Diamond. So you know who I'm talking about. She said, oh, you look really nice, blah, blah, blah. So I get into the lobby, and I'm a pretty good read of people. And I can remember this like it was yesterday. And a lot of these are vague because this was over 20 years ago, So some of the details get a little sketchy, but there's definitely things that stand out. When I first walked into that lobby, I remember seeing a bunch of guys that were younger than me. And I was only 26 at the time, so it's not like I was an old guy. But compared to these guys, I was old. They were all 18, 19, 20. None of their suits fit. It was like they bought them off a rack. They weren't tailored. They weren't nice. They were all walking around with excess energy drinks. I can remember that like it was yesterday. And I'm not knocking that product. I actually liked that. I actually thought excess energy drinks were competitively priced, and I thought that they were better than Red Bull. And I don't even know if Monster was out back then, but I thought that they were good energy drinks. But they all had them, those bright cans. And there had to be 12 to 15 guys and girls that came up to me and said the same exact thing. And they weren't like in the line or anything. They came from different sides of the room. Oh, nice to meet you. Best decision you ever made. We're going to make a lot of money together. Nice to meet you. Best decision you ever made. And I just thought that was weird, that everybody acted exactly the same and said the same thing. It was just a weird dichotomy in that room. And I couldn't put my finger on it at the time. So I sign up. I do my thing. I would pass the gas station every day to work, and I started talking to this woman there about what having energy drinks. She said her son likes energy drinks, so I got a customer almost immediately. She was buying a case of that from me every week, pretty much, and it cost me, I think, $23 as an Amway a Quick Start IBO, and I sold it for $30. So I made $7 profit, and then I got the PV or whatever. The vitamins are overpriced. I remember they were garbage vitamins. They were very overpriced. There's a guy that's into health and nutrition. They were overpriced garbage. Their laundry detergent sucked. I remember that. It was extremely overpriced. Oh, but it's good for it's good for the atmosphere. It was overpriced trash. I remember the products just weren't very competitively priced. And I remember trying to sell them, and it was difficult. And I remember trying to sell people on this opportunity, and people were like, it sounds like Amway. Now, I kept getting that. It sounds like Amway. And again, I really didn't know what the hell Amway was. Because, again, back in 2002, even, the Internet's not what it is today. So it was hard to find information on this. And if I'm not mistaken, Quickstar got in trouble for Google bombing, where they would push all their positive reviews to the top. I thought there was something on that. So it was tough to find negative reviews on that. But I remember telling my upline, I'm like, listen, man, I'm having a hard time getting people to join this, to become distributors. And he's like, just, let me come with you. And one thing I always remember him saying, too, if they turned me down, I always remember he would say, stay broke. I remember that, too. Stay broke. Just stay broke. Stay broke then. I said, well, what if they ask me how much money I'm making when I'm not making any money? I'm losing money. He's like, just tell them it's not where you are now. It's where you're going. They had a response for everything. So I'm just struggling. I'm struggling. I'm going to these meetings every week. I'm making very limited sales, and I'm not making any money. I'm losing money. I'm not losing a ton, but I'm losing it. This is, and I'm already financially, I'm in pretty bad shape, so this is not helping me. And this went on for about a year, and I remember him wanting me to go to this big function. And Scott, I told you, that was the one that NBC Dateline actually showed. I think that was 2003. He wanted me to go to that one. And it was like $500. I'm like, dude, I can't afford that. I can't afford $500 to go to that. You got to go to this thing. You got to go to it. You got to go to it. And he gives me a bunch of tapes. Every time we go someplace, he'd have a tape in his tape deck. He's like, listen to Charlie D'Urso. Charlie D'Urso's an Italian New York guy, man. That's your guy. That's your guy. Just listen to this. Listen to this. He'll get you motivated. This is supposed to motivate you. So there's back to your tool scam, which they obviously run. I'm like, dude, I can't go to this thing. And guys, I'll never forget this as long as I live. I'm working one day, right? And again, I'm the only one in my warehouse. The main company was in a different state. They just sent product to me, and I shipped it up and down the East Coast. My upline Ruby comes in there one day, and he says, I heard you're not going. And I said, man, I don't have the money to go. And he goes, you have a bunch of goods and services that you could be selling. You could make the money. Or you could just, put it on your credit card. I'm like, I don't have the money to go. I'm not going. I don't have the money to go. He goes, maybe you stop. I had like Pepsi sitting on the desk or whatever. He's like, maybe you stop drinking that, and you didn't do this, and you do that, and you have the money. Like, he was berating me at my job. The balls in this guy to come into me and talk to me like I'm a child, like he's my father. and tell me what I can and can't do with my money was bullshit. And that really pissed me off a lot. And I remember calling my upline. I said, listen, dude, I'm done. I'm like, this guy just came in here for half an hour and scolded me about the fact that I'm not able to afford to go to this stupid thing and whatever. And he said, just calm down. You know, it's all right, man. You don't need to go. It's not a big deal. He's like, just relax. Listen to Dave Severn. You like him. Just listen to the tape. Just relax and focus and all this crap. So because he's my friend, I don't leave. And, I'm trying. And it's just not working. It's just not working. So maybe a couple months later, there's a function or whatever in Rochester, which is not too far. It's about 4 hours from me. It was a one-day thing. And he's like, man, there's this thing in Rochester. It's one day. We can drive down. We can drive back. And again, I'm like, dude, I don't have $100. I can't go. He's like, listen, I'll pay for your ticket. Just pay me back when you get the money. So I accept. And I'm like, all right, I guess I can go. It's not a big deal. It was a Saturday. My wife actually went to Ozfest in either Connecticut or Vermont. So I was like, all right, perfect. She's not home, so I'll go. And it's funny, guys. As the day approached, something told me not to go, and I didn't go. I was like, you know what? I'm not going. He said he was going to pick me up at 11:30. It was like 11:45. He wasn't there. I'm like, good, he's not here. Now, this story is kind of funny. To me, anyway, it's funny looking back at it now. All of a sudden, 11:45, my phone rings. It's him. I don't answer it. I'm going to act like I'm not home. My car's not in the driveway. I'm acting like I don't want to go. I changed my mind. They call back again. They call my house phone. They call my phone. They start banging at my doors. It's him and his platinum upline or whatever. They're knocking on my door. They knock on my front door. They knock on my side door. They knock on my back door. They're trying to get in. I can hear the knobs, the doorknobs rustling like they're trying to open it, but my doors are locked. And I owned a duplex at the time. And my family members lived in the apartment next door to me. And I'm like, oh, man, there's that door that leads from their apartment into mine. So I remember running over to that door really quick and locking it. And no kidding, a minute later, that door, they're trying to get in my house. They're literally trying to open the door to get into my house. So I ran into my closet and I hid there till they left. That's insane that these guys would go to those kind of lengths to get into my house to see if I was there. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I'm like, that is really weird. Okay, and just so you know, I did end up paying the guy back eventually.
That's probably breaking and entering.
Yeah, it was just insane. I don't know what they were doing, okay? So there's that. So obviously, like I said, I'm losing money. These weird things are happening. And so he calls me maybe a couple of days later. He's like, where were you? I'm like, man, you weren't there at 11:30. I'm like, I waited for you for like 10 minutes. You weren't there. I just went and played basketball, which was a lie, but whatever. I didn't want to go. So he's like, well, that's all right. They have this new drink coming out. It was some like a Gatorade thing that they had, an excess Gatorade type of thing. I forgot. I missed a part of the story. When my Ruby came into my job, he started talking to me about how my wife was in college at the time. And so, she had college debt. She had books to pay. She was working part-time. It's not like she had a full-time job. And he's like, oh, well, you didn't waste all that money in college. That's a waste of money. The guy's telling me, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. And I'm like, who the hell are you to tell me or my wife what's a waste of money? Like, you're nobody to me. You're not a family member. You're not a friend. I don't know you from Adam. How can you say all this stuff about me or my wife? So, I go to another meeting, and my buddy's like, bring your wife with you. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of all over the place because this stuff's kind of coming back to me. And like I said, these details are a little sketchy. But he says, bring your wife with you to one of the meetings. So I bring her to one of the meetings, one of those Tuesday meetings. And immediately she's like, I don't like those people. She's like, it's weird. I don't like it. I told my buddy, I'm like, my wife's not on board, man. Or she wasn't my wife. She was my fiance at the time. She's not on board, man. She thinks it's weird, whatever. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. The next week, I show up there, and the upline platinum says, where's your wife? I go, she don't want to come. And I'm like, she's not really into this. She doesn't really think it's a good idea. And the guy says to me, he's like, oh, well, if she's not willing to support you, then maybe you need to be with somebody else if she can't support your dreams. Now, I know Scott's called me a New York tough guy, and I'm definitely not a New York tough guy. But in that moment, I had to restrain myself with all my might to not just thunder punch the guy in the throat, to tell me who I should be with and who I shouldn't be. The woman that was with me at my lowest point in my life, losing money, barely scraping by, living in a one-bedroom apartment, she's there to support me through all this. She just didn't like it. And for that guy to tell me you can't be with her, I literally wanted to strangle him.
And by the way, that's very common advice that the upline gives. You're not in any way unusual in that respect.
Yeah. So I just, it really made me mad. So I'm pretty much at my breaking point. But this was the coup de grace, okay? That energy drink comes out. My buddy's like, listen, he goes, let's go. He goes, let's just calm down. He goes, I'll tell you what. I have a bunch of these drinks. There's a basketball tournament at this school. He's like, we'll take all these with us. We'll sell them there. I'll split the profits with you. I'm like, all right, man. Okay, fine. It was a lovely June Saturday. It was probably 2000. This was probably 2004 at this point because I was in about a year and a half. So I'm guessing this was 2004. It's like June, May 2004, whatever. It was late spring, early summer. We are driving, or he's driving, and he's not going to the school. And I'm like, where are you going, man? And he goes, oh, we just got to go to the upline Ruby's house, and we just got to pick up the products. Well, I'm like, great. Well, I really don't want to see this guy after what he said because I didn't really care too much for him either. So I didn't want to see him. Well, we get there. It's Saturday. It's probably 1 PM. And the guy's what pants? He said, oh, hey, boys, this stuff is in the garage. Now, you want to talk about garage qualified or product loading or whatever you want to talk about? This guy had a warehouse of Quick Start product in his garage. A warehouse of stuff. Just tons and tons and tons of stuff.
So what level was he at the time?
He was a Ruby. He was a Ruby at the time. So she's like, well, the drinks are over there. There's like 6 cases for you guys to put. So I say to my buddy, I go, by the way, where is he today? He goes, oh, he's working. I said, he's working? I said, what do you mean? I thought he made $100,000 a year. He told me he made $100,000 a year. Why is he working on a Saturday? And guys, I'm not bullshitting you when I tell you, my buddy said, oh, he has 3 daughters. They're all in college, and he helps pay their tuition. That was it. That was the end for me. That was the end of it. This guy who berated me and told me my wife is going to, college is a scam and all the other crap, and then the guy has 3 daughters in college and he's working on Saturdays and supposed to be making $100,000 a year to pay for his girl's tuition. That pissed me. I was done. I went to the thing with my buddy, and then that was it. I quit. I stopped paying my stuff. I stopped going to the meetings. I was out. So 18 months of a lot of that. And again, details are a little sketchy because it was over 20 years ago. My mind isn't what it used to be. But those were things that really stuck out to me. And, when I watch, this is why I like always Marco. This is why I like Marco, because there wasn't that type of thing. I know you guys don't care, whatever. I don't know what your beef is. I wish you guys would debate him. I really do.